let's get on to the final educational category and then wrap up this show. Okay, fourth and final category. Looking after number one. Let me get this up on the screen so you can see it. Looking after number one and being selfish. Arguably my favourite category of all of them. Now look, it is the fourth category, so it's not the most important compared to the other ones. Physical health is absolutely the most important, without question. Financial health is next. Human psychology is next. Down below human psychology though, this is important, folks. It's not that it's not important, it's just in the hierarchy of our educational categories, it sits in fourth position. And it's only going to truly make sense once you have the other three nailed. Okay, so looking after number one and being selfish. What did I say earlier? We're always getting told, our brains are getting filled with this notion that, we have to, money doesn't make you happy. Money's the root of all evil. Rich people with money kill themselves all the time. Oh, look, you should give your wealth away. You should give it away to charity. Give it away, to the NGOs of the world. Give it away. You don't want too much money. That's not good for you. And better still, not only do you not want a lot of money, but you don't want to be putting yourself first in this life. Oh no, we couldn't have that. You must sacrifice yourself for the greater good. You know that one, folks? Sacrifice yourself for the greater good. Be a good global citizen. Right, well, that's the nonsense. Let's try and get a few things straight. We've talked about this a shit ton throughout the show here. Let's now put some resources to what we've said. As I've already outlined, you cannot put the cart before the horse. If you truly want to help people in this life, then you need to get your own house in order. You need to restore balance to yourself before you can restore balance to the rest of the world and help other people. It's like Ra's al Ghul said to Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, what did he say? He said that I want to turn fear on those that prey on the fearful. And what does Ra's al Ghul say? To manipulate the fears of others, you must first master your own. In other words, before you start trying to help other people, you need to first help yourself. And how do you help yourself? You be selfish. And you get this notion out of your head that being selfish is somehow a despicable trait that's lacking in admiration in some way. People will often say, he's a selfish git. In other words, the inference is, he's a person that's not worthy of admiration. Bollocks. Anybody who tells you that crap is trying to put you in competitively disadvantageous circumstances so that they can either outcompete you or exploit you. Yeah, that's the type of person that tells you that. Anybody who tells you not to be selfish, there's almost a guarantee that they are a hypocrite. They are selfish. They just don't want you competing with them. They want you to give all your money away, give all your resources away, sacrifice your own life, because then you're no longer a threat to them. Why are you no longer a threat to them? Because you're now in a position of weakness. You're now at their mercy. And you've no longer got freedom or independence. Because when you're at someone's mercy, you have to do what they want you to do, regardless of whether you agree or not. That's the ultimate position of weakness. So, looking after number one is fundamental, folks. In order to do that, you need to be selfish. You need to look inwards. And any time you are doing something in this life, you must first and foremost make sure that you are benefiting. This crap of sacrificing yourself for someone else's gain, you're just now willingly being scammed. Because that's what that is. What is a scam, folks? A scam is where there is a unidirectional flow of benefit that has been established. And the benefit is flowing away from you towards someone else. And you're getting nothing out of the interaction. In fact, not only are you not getting something, but you're being exploited. Why would you willingly let yourself be exploited? That's just going to put you further into a position of weakness. So, it's very important that no matter what you do in life, folks, that you're looking at it through the lens of number one first. You need to make sure that you benefit. Because a funny thing happens, folks. You see, when you start to benefit, it becomes easier to help other people. Surprise, surprise. If your physical health is in an optimal state, if your financial health is close to or on the way to an optimal state, if you understand human psychology, you are now in a position to help people. If you are sick, in pain, diseased, broke, have no money, and haven't a fucking clue how your own mind works, how are you going to effectively help anyone? That's right. You won't be able to effectively help anyone. You'll be like an anchor. You'll be like a weight. You'll be like a handicapping feature that's been attached to someone. You're not helpful at all. You're a hindrance. We don't want to be that. Okay, so, looking after number one. This is where we're going to bring in one more book, and then we're going to really understand this concept through art. In this case, movie art. So what's the book that I would recommend? The book that I would recommend, it's a book called How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Browne. Harry Browne basically is like the Bandido. He's effectively like the Bandido. Personal responsibility. Avoid standing in front of the government cannon. Find cracks. Slip between the cracks. Don't get caught up as collateral damage. Don't stick your arse out as part of some revolution. Fuck all that. That is what Harry Browne's book is effectively saying. Now, Harry Browne mightn't be a happy man with that summary, but that's effectively how I interpret his book. His book is basically saying, look, don't fall into cultural traps. Don't fall into this trap of thinking that you need to put others before yourself. No, take personal responsibility for your own life, forge your own path, and don't be doing other things that people want you to do. Don't fall into the trap of adopting someone else's worldview, of adopting someone else's agenda, of adopting someone else's goals and ambitions. You're gonna get exploited if you do that. What you want to do is find freedom in an unfree world. The world isn't free, folks. We've said this before. It's an unfree world. The system is what it is. We talk about this all the time. We always talk about controllables and uncontrollables. The system, whether that's a governmental system, the financial system, political system, you name it, these things are big, whopping uncontrollables. They are going nowhere. It doesn't matter who tells you about the next upcoming revolution of the people. Jesus Christ. The people are not going to reshape reshape the institutions or reshape the system. All you're going to do is you're going to get your bollocks blown off. You're going to stand in front of a cannon and get your bollocks blown clean off. What Harry Browne is saying is you need to accept that the world is the way it is. The world is an uncontrollable. And what you need to do is you need to stop trying to change uncontrollables. You need to stop trying to change people. Stop trying to change their minds. Stop trying to change the system. Don't bother with it. Focus on number one. Focus on changing yourself. Focus on changing your physical health. Focus on changing your financial set of circumstances. Educate yourself on human psychology. Start looking after number one. And what you ought to be doing is trying to find the cracks in the system, and you slip in between the cracks. You don't stand in front of the system and try to take it on. That is a 100% guaranteed losing battle that you're going to fight. And you're going to get fucked. Forget about that. Instead of trying to reshape remold, change the system, and change the people in the system. Find the cracks and slip in between them. And don't get caught as collateral damage. As the debris starts to fall from the sky, don't stand out in the middle of the street and get whacked by a bunch of debris falling from the sky. You need to get out of the road of the debris and find a nice open landscape, free from falling rubble, stones, and rocks. Don't try to change anyone. Don't try to change the fact. It's like the weather, folks. Trying to change the system is like trying to change the weather. Do we try to change the weather? No. If you don't like the weather, move somewhere else. That's what you do. In other words, if I don't like the weather in Ireland, I don't stand here like an idiot and shout up at the sky and say, I'm going to start a revolution to change the weather. The weather is an uncontrollable. You cannot influence it. It's an uncontrollable. The political system is like the weather. It's an uncontrollable. So why would you stand in front of the system with your revolutionary comrades and try to change it? All you're going to do is you're going to draw the attention of the system onto you. And if you piss the system off enough, it'll come after you. And now you've got a headache on your hands. No, you slip in between the cracks. You don't try to change the system. You don't try to change the people in the system. You change yourself. You change your own circumstances in life. Those are controllables. Those aren't uncontrollables. Your own mind is a controllable. And the degree to which you can influence your own circumstances is far more controllable than trying to change the system. That's what Harry Browne is trying to get at. Look inwards, in other words. It's like Guru Patik with Avatar Aang. It's like Ra's al Ghul with Bruce Wayne. Look inwards. And you know what you do? You sort your own life out. You sort your own life out. And that's it. You call it quits. And once you get your own life sorted out, then you can start looking at helping the people in your inner orbit. Fine, now you're actually useful. Now you're actually valuable. Now you actually have something to offer. Now, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. I would recommend that you read that book because it is like Bandido Philosophy 101. Don't get caught up in the trap of joining the revolution. Don't try to change the system. Don't try to change people. Don't think you're going to vote your way out of it. Just focus on yourself. Be a big, selfish git. Look after number one. You're here to live your own life. And that's it. And then let the chips fall wherever they're going to fall. Slip in between in between the cracks of the system. Don't try to change it. Okay, so Harry Browne. That's a book I would recommend you read. What about movies, folks? There are some really good movies that we can watch that highlight this concept of looking after number one, being selfish, not always telling the truth. We talk about this on the show as well, folks. It can be within your interests to not always tell the truth. Again, this is another thing we get told. You should always tell the truth. Or you should never lie. You should never tell a porky pie. You should never deceive. Again, normally the people who tell you that are the most deceptive people on the planet. They are the manipulators on this planet. Of course you shouldn't always tell the truth. The degree to which you tell the truth is circumstantial. It depends on the circumstances. It depends who I'm talking with, and it depends upon the circumstances surrounding my discussion. Obviously. So sometimes I will tell 80% of the truth and 20% lies. Sometimes I'll tell 10% of the truth and 90% lies. It depends who I'm talking with and where I'm talking with them. You know, it goes without saying. That's logic. And this idea of always telling the truth, that is only ever going to put you, again, it's going to make you less competitive. It's going to essentially make you easier to exploit. If you're always going around burying your arse out in public, telling the raw, unfiltered truth, you're going to piss people off, and, better still, you're going to reveal your agenda. Life's competitive, folks. You have to extract from life. I'm not saying you should stab people in the back. I'm against that notion. I don't think you should throw people onto the bus. But what you should be trying to do is establish bidirectional flows of benefit. You benefit and someone else benefits. There's nothing wrong with extracting from people. Nothing wrong with that at all. But as long as you're offering something and they're offering something to you, there can be mutual extraction. Nothing wrong with that, because both parties are benefiting. Now, I don't want to go around proclaiming the truth all the time, like the great prophet Jesus Christ himself, if he even was a prophet, whatever the fuck he was, the Son of God or whatever. I don't want to do that, because you know what ends up happening? You end up crucified on the cross. Do you notice that? You notice old Jesus there? He goes around saying that he's the Son of God. And what does he get? That's right. He gets fucking crucified by his own people. Okay, there's a great lesson in that, folks. Now, I know the religious people will say to me, well, he died for our sins. Yeah, well, you know, to me, it looks like he died for no reason whatsoever. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like he got a fancy notion in his head that he was going to try and educate everyone. And he was going to be the bearer of the truth. And you know what he got for it? That's right. He got nailed to a cross. And he was left there to die. Wonderful. So I don't know about you folks, but I don't want to be nailed to any crosses. That's not one of my objectives in life. And one surefire way to get, quote, nailed to the cross is to go around telling everybody your unfiltered version of reality. That's a surefire way to piss a whole bunch of people off. And where you may have been able to extract benefit from those people, now you don't, because you've pissed them off. Folks, you need to be more strategic in this life. How do you be more strategic? You need to know how to read a room. This is why it's very important to understand human psychology. Point number 3, educational category number 3. You need to understand human psychology and how to read a room. You need to understand when it's appropriate to reveal your inner thoughts and when it's not appropriate to reveal your inner thoughts. Most of the time, folks, people cannot deal with the raw, unfiltered truth. Certainly not on a first pass. You have to be more strategic about how you deal with people because you don't want to piss them off. As soon as you piss people off, you're not going to be able to get anything out of that person anymore because you pissed them off. You need to play the game. You need to give a certain amount of authenticity. You need to give a certain amount of truthfulness, a certain amount of sincerity, a certain amount of your inner thinking so that you can endear the person to you, so that the person feels like they know you, but you need to withhold a bit. In other words, you need to be deceptive. You need to lie by omission, or you just need to tell a big white lie. Sometimes you have to tell big lies with big fucking bells hanging off them. It depends on the circumstance. So, there is this idea that you need to present yourself as a big wholesome individual. It's all the truth and nothing but the truth. Nonsense. We're in this life, folks, to effectively live as well as we can. To live as well as we can, we need to be establishing bidirectional flows of benefit. We need to be establishing mutually beneficial interactions with other people. In order to do that, you can't be pissing people off. You need to know when to shut your gob. You need to know when to keep your thoughts to yourself. In other words, what is that? You're lying. You're lying by omission. That's called deception. People will literally argue until they're in the grave that they don't lie. I hear this all the time. I don't lie. No, I don't deceive. No, I always tell the truth. I'm not a deceptive person. And people get very annoyed when you highlight the fact that, no, I'm pretty sure you do. Everybody does. No, I don't do it. That's not me. Okay, those people are full of shit. I'm telling you right now, up front, I'm telling you, I do this all the time. And it's not because I'm a bad person. It's not because I'm an evil person. It's not because I'm looking to throw people under the bus. You don't want to do that. That's my point. What do I keep saying? There's nothing wrong with extracting people as long as there's mutual benefit. As long as they're extracting from you, you're extracting from them, no problem. Great. That's what we want. But in order to get yourself into a position whereby you can establish an interaction like that, you can't be going around unfiltered, spewing the first fucking thought that comes into your head. You know, if you listen to a podcast that recently, tells you that Israel's the reason why, the world is the way it is and Netanyahu runs the world, and you start going around shouting your mouth off, people are going to look at you and go, what is this lunatic saying? If you go over to Israel and start saying Netanyahu's a prick, if you start going into the World Jewish Conference and saying that Netanyahu's a prick, because that's you being honest, that's you being yourself, that's you telling the raw, unfiltered truth, yeah, you're going to be like Jesus on the cross. You're going to be crucified. And enjoy your life let's see how much you can enjoy your life when you're crucified to the cross. Jesus Christ, folks. It doesn't matter what you hear on the most recent podcast. You need to read the room. If I bump into Netanyahu, it doesn't matter what I think of Netanyahu. I'm going to read the room. And I'm going to be sensible. Remember, it's an unfree world. Wouldn't it be great if you could just say whatever you want? Wouldn't that be great? You can say whatever you want to anyone. It's not how the world works. You need to play the game. You need to understand how the world is set up. And that means you need to moderate your degree of honesty and your degree of deception. It needs to be a blend. Sometimes you need to have more honesty and less deception. More times, or on other occasions, you need to be more deceptive than you are honest. It depends. Now, why am I laying this out? There are a number of movies that I have here that outline this beautifully. I would encourage you to watch them. That's all I'm saying. Kick back, get the popcorn out, whip out the weenies and the pretzels, and off you go. Watch the movies. That's what I would recommend. Because in these pieces of movie art, a lot of these directors have a good intuitive feel for the dynamics and behavior of humans and how they interact with one another. And a lot of the main characters, whether it's Bruce Wayne, Ra's al Ghul, Captain Jack Sparrow, Captain Barbossa, Elizabeth Turner, Will Turner, Davy Jones, the East India Trading Company, Andy Dufresne, Warden Norton, Red out of the Shawshank Redemption, Deadwood. Don't watch the movie. I would not recommend that you watch the movie. But Deadwood, the series, we did a show on this actually. Go check out Bandido's Beef. The playlist, Bandido's Beef. We did a really long breakdown on Deadwood, the series, and Deadwood, the movie. Deadwood, the series, again, I would encourage you to watch that. That's a good example of how looking out for number one is important and how you can form temporary alliances. Dirty Harry. Who doesn't love a bit of Dirty Harry? Dirty Harry. Watch, he has like 4 or 5 movies. Again, he's a good example of looking out for number one. He does what he wants to do. He does it on the terms that he wants to do it. He looks out for number one. He takes personal responsibility. All the things that we're talking about here. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Fantastic movie that illustrates the importance of looking out for number one and being selfish. Tuco and Blondie. It's a wonderful on-screen interaction. You can see they are clearly self-interested, but notice what they do. They literally form an alliance. Earlier in the movie, they were ready to kill one another. Circumstances, though. There's gold to be attained. And all of a sudden, you see Tuco and Blondie forming a temporary alliance. Their interests align. Are they self-interested? Are they looking out for number one? Are they being selfish? Yes, 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 they are. Nothing wrong with that. But they managed to establish a bidirectional flow of benefit between them. All of these movies are very useful for seeing human behavior played out on screen. It can be very useful to see it visually, because a lot of the resources that I've given you so far, they are either reading resources or they are audio resources. It's really great to have a story, a fictional story. This is why, folks, incidentally, this is why the PDF that I did, remember I was explaining earlier about Cobb Marley's 21st Century Guide to Becoming a Starchivore. Whenever we were talking about your physical health and diet. The reason why I put that into a fictional story is because storytelling is a very interesting way to get a point across. It can sometimes be more effective than the raw health studies and the scientific literature, which is dry as fuck and not interesting to read. It's the same thing here. The Dark Knight trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, The Shawshank Redemption, Deadwood the series, not the movie, Dirty Harry, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. These are all pieces of movie art. If you analyze the main characters, Bruce Wayne, what does he do in The Dark Knight? He lies repeatedly. He lies to Lucius Fox about the technology that he has to capture the Joker. He lies to him. He takes it off the books so that Lucius doesn't know he has it. Alfred lies to Bruce about the letter that Rachel wrote about Harvey Dent. Gordon lied about being assassinated. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone isn't telling the raw, unfiltered truth. Pirates of the Caribbean is a great trilogy to watch because you have all of these agendas intertwining. 1 minute, Captain Jack's agenda aligns with Will's, then it doesn't. The next minute it aligns with Barbossa's, then it doesn't. Davy Jones looks like he's the antagonist. Then the East India Trading Company comes in and sort of manages to get control over him for a while. It's great to watch. It's great to watch it on screen. You're watching a bunch of self-interested people trying to get the best outcome given the circumstances, and you get to see how interests align and how they drift. Then they align, then they drift again. Same with The Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne, he's digging a tunnel out of the prison. Does he tell his best friend about this? No. He doesn't tell Red about it at all. There's deception there. What does he do to Warden Norton? He screws him and steals his shoes. Walks out of the prison in them. This is another great example. Andy Dufresne through The Shawshank Redemption and that entire movie is everybody being absolutely honest and sacrificing themselves for the interests of others? No! Deadwood, again, I've already talked about that initially, or a little bit earlier. Again, we've done a full show on Deadwood. Go check it out on the channel. But again, you've got Al Swearingen, Cy Tolliver. You've got, what's the name of the guy who comes in? The gold guy. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me maybe. But you've got all of these big alphas, these status-seeking, hierarchy-ascending alphas. And you get to watch the dynamic in this village, in this town basically, where the government tentacles haven't reached it yet. So you get to watch. Deadwood is like this town that operates without law and order, basically. You've got Bullock, Seth Bullock. All of these people It's a really interesting series to watch because you get to watch all of these dynamics. You get, again, very much like Pirates of the Caribbean, you get to see how interests align and drift. And you get to see that in the real world, folks, these are actually good representations of the real world. Anybody who goes around in the real world with their unfiltered lens on, they're going to be crucified to the cross. And most people know this. That's why most people lie. And then, of course, you get people who, vehemently defend the fact that they don't do this. Yeah, that's just another example of their deception. People like to make it out as if they are Mother Teresa, that they are self-sacrificial, that they are altruistic, that they're willing to, give up their life for others. Yeah. They're fucking looking for status. They are virtue signaling, basically. And through their virtue signaling, they're looking to acquire a whole bunch of credibility and status. They're looking to take the moral high ground. Look how wonderful a person I am. I give all my money away. Oh yes, money's the root of all evil. I sacrifice myself for other people. I just give stuff away for free. Yeah, full of shit. Nobody goes on like that. And everybody knows it. That's why we love these movies. Why do you think these movies are so popular? The Dark Knight trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Shawshank Redemption, Deadwood the series, Dirty Harry, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Why do we love these movies? Because they hit the source code in your psychology. And you know it. You know it. You're just refusing to allow it to, you're refusing to fully embrace it because culture has set up its stall in such a way that virtue signaling gets rewarded in the modern environment. You get rewarded for being a virtue signaler. Palestinian rights, the Palestinian people, we need to fight for the Palestinians. We need to fight for all the fucking tribes out in the Congo and in the Amazon. People use virtue as a way to get status. Right. Well, there's a reason why these movies are popular. And it's not just about how they've been shot or the storyline. It's about the dynamics of the characters. Captain Jack Sparrow is one of the most manipulative, deceptive, self-interested characters that I know. But everybody loves him. Did you ever wonder why everybody likes Captain Jack? I mean, Captain Jack literally lies, manipulates, and deceives all of the time. But everybody loves him. It speaks to the source code. That's why people love him. Because people know that they do it as well. It's just, what happens? Do most people have a camera following their life around? Do people have a camera following them around all the time? No. So they get away with the lies and the deception simply because it isn't broadcast up on a cinema screen. But you see, when people watch someone like Captain Jack Sparrow, they actually feel endeared to the character. They like the character because they know it's true. They know that Captain Jack is a reflection of everybody else. It just gets exaggerated through Captain Jack's character and personality. But everybody knows they do it as well. That's why they like him. In other words, he's relatable. The fact that he manipulates and lies and deceives, this is perfectly normal human behavior. Because Captain Jack behaves in accordance with the circumstances. He adjusts his level of honesty and deception depending on the circumstances. And when you watch the movie, it tickles your source code. And you sort of feel, quote, that you like Captain Jack, even though he's a manipulative, exploitative, deceptive individual. Sounds like a politician to me. He certainly has traits of a politician, yet why do we hate politicians so much, yet we love Captain Jack? There's definitely overlap. I'm not saying Captain Jack is a politician, but he definitely has traits that overlap with politicians. Yet we like Captain Jack. So, Anyway, I would recommend that you watch those movies. They're really, really good to get a visual representation of all the stuff that we're talking about. If you analyze Bruce Wayne, Ra's al Ghul, the Joker, Commissioner Gordon, Harvey Dent, Bane, Captain Jack Sparrow, Captain Barbossa, Will Turner, Cutler Beckett from the East India Trading Company, Davy Jones. If you analyse Andy Dufresne, Warden Norton, Red, Brooks out of the Shawshank Redemption. If you analyse Al Swearingen, Cy Tolliver. I still can't remember the big gold dude. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, when you analyse some of the main characters in Deadwood, Seth Bullock. If you look at Dirty Harry, how he behaves throughout the Dirty Harry movies. You look at the good, the bad and the ugly. Look at how Tuco and Blondie interact throughout the movie. These are good visual representations of why it's important to look after number one and be selfish. Because these movies, these pieces of movie art, highlight that if you don't do this, you end up like Jesus on the cross, crucified. You need to moderate how you're behaving. And sure as fuck what you do need to do is you need to look after number one first and foremost. Because as you see throughout all of these movies, if the main protagonists do not look after number one, and if they are not self-interested, and if they are not selfish, they get killed. They have to exhibit these traits, otherwise they will be killed. And in this life, folks, we will be, quote, killed and battered into a position of weakness if we don't look after number one and also be selfish and self-interested first and foremost. That is your key to actually being able to help other people. Okay, so, folks, those are the educational resources that I would recommend if you want to broadly understand, to get some feedback and contextualize what I mean by looking after number one and being selfish. Okay, so that is a wrap for our educational categories. Let me go back up to the top